It's not looking good out there, is it? You're looking at the charts, you're looking at the altcoins, and everything is looking doom and gloom. So, today's video is all about zooming out, looking at the bigger picture, asking the million-dollar question: is this bull market over? Now, for people who've been around a minute, they'll say that they've seen it all before, but many of you guys will have not seen this before. This is new, this is hard to deal with. Maybe you was overexposed, maybe you remortgaged a house to go all in on crypto. Everybody's situation is different and it can be tough for a lot of people. So let's just look at a few different things and analyze if this bull market is truly over. So the first chart we're going to look at here is the Bitcoin weekly chart. I'm really just zooming out, looking at the bigger picture. Now we can see that we bottomed out November, December of 22. From that point, we've been in a very strong uptrend, especially over these last maybe 6 months, 8 months. Things were very, very strong from September, October, all the way to the local top in March, April time. At that point now, we've obviously seen a big drop off, but we look at previous cycles, we see that we topped out in 2017 at 20k. Then in 2021, we've seen almost 70k. And I find it very hard to believe at this point that with everything going on, I'm talking the bullish news, the Bitcoin ETF approval, that we're going to find a cycle top. I mean, if we just take the top here and we look at the more recent top here, so not even 7% higher than the previous cycle's all-time high. So at this point, you have to say that this price action just above that previous all-time high looks like deviation from a trading perspective. But if we're going to look from an investor's perspective, looking at the long term, do we really believe that a Bitcoin ETF will send us 7% higher than the previous all-time high, and that's it, no further? That is something that really plays on my mind, something that, I find very hard to believe in, to be completely honest. I do think that this cycle is destined for much higher despite the shorter term downturn. So there's going to be a lot of people out there, especially those who have joined crypto, let's say in the last 12 months, and they'll be wondering if this price action is normal during a bull market. Are we likely to see these big dips shaking everybody out? So again, we're going to look at the weekly time frame and just analyze some price action from the last bull cycle. Now we can see here with Bitcoin a huge run up from the COVID bottom, and we've seen this turn here. So if we just have a look at what the actual percentages look like, we can see a 31%, that just changed, my bad, but it was 31% downturn here around January, February of 2021. Now even when we topped out the first time around in Q2 of 2021, we've seen some pretty vicious downturns, 26% there. From the local top, we've seen another turn of around 27%, it bounced, and then we've seen the big drop all the way down here at around 50%. So the 50% one was quite, unusual, and it definitely caught a lot of people out before we ran it back. But the 25 to 30% kind of pull downs were much more normal, and even here on the second leg when we went for that kind of double top, we've seen another pullback here around 25% again. So if you look at the more recent price action, looks very similar to this in a lot of respects, but here we got the top, we ran it all the way back down here, 23% pullback, pretty normal in the grand scheme of things. Here again, local top, down to where we are now, minus 26%. So when you actually make them comparisons, we've seen it all before. It is designed for people to panic, to sell, and flush people out. And that is exactly what we seem to be seeing right now. And the last chart that we're going to take a look at is the total market cap of altcoins. Now, I've said it before, the best way to really hurt retail investors is to hit altcoins hard, because many retail investors don't want Bitcoin exposure. The upside is not enough for them. They want the bigger gains. But with that comes the bigger risk. So if we look at this chart, again, we're going to just look at the typical downturns because we don't see the usual 25 to 30% like we do on Bitcoin. Things usually get a little bit worse. So even what looks small here, this downturn, again, February 2021, we can see 35%. Fairly tame for altcoin standards. This one here a bit further up in April of 2021, 32%. And then the big drop here. So this is when Bitcoin basically took that 50% drop, while altcoins took a drop of 60%. So it definitely hit them a lot harder. And then again, like I said, on that run up for this the second top of the cycle, 30% again there, which was relatively tame, but still bigger than Bitcoin's 25%. So what are we seeing right now in relation to them numbers? The first drop off here was at around 29%. So again, fairly normal. What are we getting now? We're roughly at around 28%. Of course, we can't say for sure if this is actually a bottom at this point. Only time will tell. But right now, the point being that this kind of stuff is pretty normal during bull cycles. So this is pretty much my summary of how I'm seeing things right now. You have to ask the question, is this a shit time for everybody? Of course it is. Even myself, I'm no exception. I've got so much crypto exposure, I'm pretty much all in, stables are low, and I'm really feeling this downturn like everyone else. So is it shit? Yes. But am I panicking? No. Because I'm looking at the charts, I'm keeping my emotions out of this, and I'm looking at the bigger picture, and I'm fairly confident that this bull cycle isn't over. I'm looking at the Bitcoin ETF, Ethereum ETF on the way, VanEck applying for a Solana ETF. I just don't see these kinds of things happening on the verge of a multi-year bear market. It just doesn't make sense. You've also got the US elections. Now, generally speaking, without getting too political, Trump coming in is usually good from a financial perspective, not just for crypto, but generally speaking, stock market and so on. But now he's taking, Bitcoin donations. He says that he wants the Bitcoin to continue in the US when it comes to mining. So there's a lot going on around crypto going into Q3, Q4, and therefore 2025. So these things are also what I'm keeping in the back of my mind, because I do believe that the cycle is not over at this point. Now, if I am wrong, I'm wrong. So be it. I'm happy to go down with the ship, knowing that I had skin in the game, knowing that I risked it all, because at the end of the day, when them people at the peak of the bull cycle turn around and call you lucky, these are the moments. This is exactly why we are not lucky. It doesn't just happen. If you can put yourself into a self-induced coma like I tweeted about yesterday for many months and just not see all of this going on, then yeah, it's probably pretty easy. But when you look at the charts every day, when you're looking at your portfolio dropping, pretty heavily from them all-time highs, it's tough. Mentally, very tough. So keep that in mind when those people are calling you lucky next year. And to wrap this one up, I've just got 2 lessons that I want to share, because although I think I would benefit from my own advice here, I think many of you guys will as well. So the first lesson is to take profits on the way up. Now, even I'm guilty of this because I'm looking at my portfolio thinking this is my long-term portfolio. But taking profits pretty aggressively when positions are up high, there's always going to be dips in the future. You're always going to get an opportunity to buy back at lower prices, generally speaking. Now, timing the market perfectly is not what I'm getting at here, but continuing to reduce risk on the way up and basically increase exposure on the way down is generally how people win. It's very, very simple. It's a lot easier said than done. But generally speaking, taking profits when you see meme coins popping off, when you see celebrities making coins, they're just general top signals. Very easy to say in hindsight, of course. I need to listen to my own advice here. But yeah, taking profits is so important. Second piece of advice, don't go all in on altcoins. Even more so, don't go all in on meme coins. That there is, generally speaking, a very high risk, high reward nature. Of course it is, and you've got to be in it to win it. But if you have exposure right now to Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, yeah, you're still feeling it. but you've got money in assets that are definitely not going anywhere in the long term. Even if you held them through tough times for a while, they are not going anywhere. But most of these altcoins, most of these meme coins are vaporware, and they won't see it past one cycle. Now, it might be tough to hear because you may be fundamentally bullish, but it's just so difficult for these teams to stand out when there's thousands and thousands of altcoins, and the same for meme coins. So do keep this in mind. Don't marry them bags, take profit.